Okay. So there's a fascinating Gemara here, which really is a big Inyan, a big Musar in terms of just the way to learn Tanakh. That Tanakh is not just stories, and there's a lot of halacha. And I think really our sugya really will demonstrate that there's tremendous in the background of what's going on in the Pesukim of Tanakh. As just a little shout out, as I've heard, unfortunately myself I haven't been zocha, but I've heard through Adi, and Rebbe Reisman also tries to highlight that there is a lot in the background of the Svarim of Tanakh and the stories, that even the stories are fascinating, but let's take a look. So the Gemara says, Tanya, so the Machlekes Tanoim, whether or not you're allowed to marry the Almana Shel Melech. So the Mishnah said on Yud Chesam and Aleph, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Imratza Lachol Toliyav Mzach Latov Omer Lo Ein Shomen Lo Ve'ein Nosen Almanasa Rabbi Yehuda Omer Nose Amelech Almanasa Shel Melech Shekein Matzinu B'David Shenasa Almanasa Shel Shal Shneemar Ve'etnu Lecha Es Beis Adonecha Ve'es Neshei Adonecha B'Cheikecha. So the Gemara goes on, and the Gemara says, Tanya Ve'ein Nosen Tanya Omer Lo Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbanan said back to Rabbi Yehuda, no, these psukim are not to tell you that you're allowed to marry Almanah Shel Melech. Rather, we darshan out Nashim HaReuyos Lo Mi Beis HaMelech Umay Minhu Meirav Umicha. Not that you should marry Almanah Shel Melech, but rather you should marry appropriate people with the appropriate ichus from the lineage of the Beis HaMelech that are Rashi says HaReuyos Lo HaMutaris Lo Aval Nashiv Shel Shaul Lo. But they weren't the actual Almanos of Shaul that David ended up married. Fine. So that's the end of the Machlekes Tanoim. How to learn out the story there, whether or not it's teaching us that you actually can marry Almanasa Shel Melech, or it's teaching us you marry who's fit, but you can't actually marry. The Rabbanan hold you can't actually marry Almanasa Shel Melech. Almanasa Shel Melech stays unmarried afterwards. Fine. Shol Talmidav Rabbi Yossi. So the Talmidav asked Rabbi Yossi, so once we're here, let's learn a little bit of a Tanakh. How was it possible that David married two sisters, Michal and Meirav? So one first answer, we show, what do you all think? So there's a fascinating klal that only applies to this erva. This erva is the one erva that's only b'chayeha. That la'achar misa achos ishta, it's a pasuk, and it's an exception to the rule. Most ervas are aser la'achar misa. So over here, it is mutter. So you see that's going to be the simplest answer. Amar lahen Michal achar misas Meirav nasa. No, they weren't simultaneous, and one was after the misa of the other one. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha said no. Kedushay tos hayalo b'Meirav. Shenemar tanoat ishti es Michal asher arasti li b'meya arlos plishtim. So what happens? So the Gemara says, so Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says no, the kushim meikar lesa. Because the halacha is that if I just slept with a woman, right? Rashi writes this in Chumash, right? The Gemara in Yevamos says like this: if I had a relationship with a woman, that doesn't aser her krovim, right? If you're achos, forget the lashon of Rashi, achos zonaso, achos of someone who I happen to have a relationship with, there was never any kedushin and there was never any real halachic relationship, then that doesn't aser the sister in marrying. So since it turned out that it was kedusha toos havi and it was a misunderstanding, so therefore Michal was still mutter to David HaMelech. Shneemar Tanei asked Ishti as Michal sherasi li b'meya arlos plishtim. My Talmuda Amar Papa, what's going on here? What happened with this meya arlos plishtim? So Gemara says as follows: Amar Papa Michal Ishti v'loy Meirav Ishti. Michal is my wife and Meirav is not my wife. Why? My kedusha tos t'chsiv, because the pasuk goes as follows, and this is the story. Shaul had an issue. Shaul didn't have a way to defeat Goliath, and Goliath was tormenting Am Yisrael, and Shaul wasn't sure how he was going to be successful to defeat him. So Shaul starts announcing throughout Klal Yisrael, V'hoya ish asher yakenu Yashrenu Amelech v'Osher Gadol. I am going to take care financially of the person that will get the job done. So what happened? Ozil Kotle. So he went and he killed him. Who? David HaMelech. David HaMelech went and he killed him. Amr lo milva isli lach gabai. You owe money to me, right? Shaul now had a chov that he promised, his chayvus, that he promised that whoever would take this job, I'm going to give you the money. And the Gemara tells us in Kiddushin, in two places really, on Daf Vav and Daf Mem Vav, which is a whole shir on its own, why there are two separate Gemaras, one member of Abaye on Daf Vav and one member of Rav later on in Kiddushin, but they're probably speaking about two different issues, but fundamentally there's a common theme. You have to give something new to the woman, and if you owed that money already before, that's not, by you just being mochel the chov, a debt, that's not Kiddushin, and therefore you are not Yotzei Kiddushin with a Mekadesh Milva. So Shaul was the father of these girls, and obviously these girls were Ktanim at the time, because otherwise the father has no jurisdiction and no ability to marry off these daughters. So Shaul had a chov. Why did he have a chov? Because he said, whoever is going to step up to the plate and take care of this job, I'm going to owe all this money. So now you're going to be Mekadesh with that chov. That's not anything new. So Mekadesh b'milva eina mekudeshes. That's what the Gemara says. So what happened? So Shaul said, she's still a free woman. Ozol yaval adriel. Tichsiv vayehi ba'es teises merav bashol leDavid, and he gave it to Adriel because Shaul held that it was Mekadesh Milva and it was garnish. Amarlei iba is the etan lecha Michal zayil aisili meya. So Shaul HaMelech sounds like a little bit reminiscent of Lavan and Yaakov. So Shaul said, you want my other daughter? You want Michal? Merav I already gave to Adriel because your Kiddushin was not a Kiddushin. But now you want my other daughter, Michal? Zil aisili meya arlos plishtin. You go and get me 100 of the foreskins of the plishtin. By the way, just stop before we even get involved in this. There's a lot to talk about here. Just from a machshava standpoint, what's this meya arlos plishtin? Why was he obsessed with meya arlos plishtin? What's arlos plishtin and why meya? Why 100? So what's going on over here? So I think the answer to this question is that Goliath, who's Goliath the son of? Arpa. Arpa. Okay. Arpa, so the Gemara tells us that. The Gemara says that Arpa turned around the night that she left Naomi and Rus, and she met up with Anshe Moav. And the Gemara says something really hard to swallow. The Gemara said she had Meya Be'ilus that night. The night. And the Gemara says from those Meya Be'ilus that she had that night, that she left Yiddishkeit and left Naomi, right? Who was impregnated? She was impregnated with who? With Goliath. So you see that Goliath was this whole creation from this Meya Ish that she was with on the night that she turned around from Naomi. So Shaul is saying, no, we need to defeat Goliath right now, and we need to counteract that Meya Arlos Ish. It's not just
Maybe that's why he was that size.
Yeah, I hear. I don't know. You got to check medically, but.
I mean, he already defeated him though at this point, right?
Who?
David.
No.
This is after that, right?
Yeah, right. So now he's saying, from the dead people, now get me the Arlos Ish. Pashtus is that they were already dead. Right. Correct.
But this is saying from dead.
No, this is me.
Go out and kill 100.
So we're get Pashtus. It means from the dead plishtim that you killed. Just bring me the Arlos. I want. I'm not sure what I want to do with them, but but just bring them to me. Fine.
Shava Kesef.
Yeah. So we'll see. We have to talk about this. Also isolate Amarle Milva. Also isolate. So he went and he brought it back. Amarle. Milva upruta. So now you have a combination. It was both a chov, he owes him money, and now he's got what Abe's saying is shava kesef, because the meya arlos plishtim. Well, the assumption is at least worth a pruta. I'm not sure why. Islach legabe. So what's the din? What's the halacha if you have two two representations of cash or of money. One in a milva and one in a pruta. So we already know the Gemara says mekadesh milva zeina mekudeshes. So now the fact that I say to a girl, you know what, I have it. You owe me $100. You owe me $5,000. So now be mekadesh with that $5,000. I'm not going to just be mekadesh you with a pruta. It's not nice. I'll be mekadesh you with a pruta. Plus, I'll be meichel you the $500, $5,000 that you're going to give her. So now what do? You're mekadesh b'milva upruta. Is mekadesh b'milva upruta daita a milva or lav daita a milva? So Zok the Gemara, that's the machlokes between Shaul HaMelech and David HaMelech. Unbelievable. Shaul savar milvo pruta lamdisha machlokes. Shaul savar milvo pruta daita milve. Shaul thinks that milvo pruta, your das is on the choiv. With David savar, no, David thought that David savar that she was good kiddushin. Savar milvo pruta daita pruta. And therefore, it's taka his wife. Good. Viba Yisema, right? Viba Yisema, Rashi says milvu pruta. Milvu pruta milva oisher godosh and ischayavti l'cha b'shvil golias u pruta shava kesef shkibalti memcha ba'alolu orlos plishtim shol savar daita the mekadesh the chashiva hilkach lav kiddushin ninu v'alzav yavel apalti ben laish. So that's why, again, this is the next stage. Again, Shaul didn't hold of his word. And he gave away Michal also to a step worse than Lavan. At least Lavan gave Rachel. But he gave away Michal to Palti ben Laish. So the shaila is, why did he do that? Bishlam, the first one, it was just Mekadesh Milva. So Shaul said, I'm going to give Meirav to Adriel. But why did he give away Michal to Palti ben Laish? The answer is because Shaul held the second Kedushin is also not a good Kedushin. Why? Because since there was a Chayiv and there was a pruta, right? We're assuming that the chayv was still shayach again, even in the second marriage, because he never yet paid him. So mekadesh b'milve upruta. So Shaul says that that's not good. It's daita milve. So
what's the rationale for that? Why would that? I mean, there's still a pruta being exchanged.
So it could be psychological that the ikr is we're worried that the woman's das is focused more. First of all, in this situation, where the debt is definitely larger, so that might be more focused on that.
What she has to, when you're mekadesh v'kesef, the woman has to be focused on the value of the kesef.
Sure.
She can't just say, "Oh."
Why can't you give your wife a diamond ring under the chuppah that you could do by the engagement? So the Mordechai says because she doesn't know the value of that diamond, and such an Evan needs a shuma, and we're worried that she's going to think it's much more expensive than it is.
Now the value of the whatever the value is. I mean, that's not up for dispute, apparently. But the fact that there's another unrelated detail
right.
to this arrangement,
right. That's going to be megareh, right?
Why should that deduct from the fact that you have a valid kiddushin otherwise?
What's the din if I say to you, like...
It's like if you're a Mekadesh woman and you do kiddushin, you give the money, whatever you do, and then you say, now I'm going to stand on my head.
No.
And she's going to think, you stand on your head.
No, because if she thinks that she's getting married with this, that's a problem. If I present to her that there's other things that she's getting married, and that was the reason, that would be halachically, you don't even need to get. If she had smichas das with that other thing, it's not kiddushin. Her das has to know what she's being married with, 100%. Yeah.
It's possible that Shaul HaMelech also would, if the halacha could be like David, but Shaul wanted to give him trouble. So that's why Shaul did what he did. Shaul,
right.
So we're learning.
So the Gemara, right? But the Gemara sounds like they had a lumdisha
but no, since there are two possibilities,
right.
Shaul says, "No, I pass in that way, so
right.
that you can't have her.
Right.
You can't have this one. You can't have that one."
Right.
Wasn't the chov already done with?
So that's what I was saying. Apparently, until he paid it, so there was still around to play around with.
We never
paid it. What was the story about the first marriage? I mean, if that wasn't...
No, there's for sure a chov.
And right, so the first marriage should have undid the chov, whether that works or not.
No, he never paid him.
But, as you're saying, he didn't pay any...
And he didn't give her Meirav either.
He didn't end up giving her. So David thought that the chov should have been done because the marriage was chal, but Shaul was saying what? That the chov didn't go through?
David doesn't care about the chov. David says mekadesh milva pruta still daita pruta. Shaul says no, the chov's still around, so it's not kedushin.
So what was the chov? The chov was actually currency, or the chov was his daughter?
Ashrenu.
So the Gemara sounds like it was osher. It was a monetary chov that I'm going to pay you a lot of money, if you do this.
Is it Katuv Firush?
I mean, the pasuk he says, "Aisha sheyashrenu melech osher gadol." Yeah. So, but part of the question that we really have to discuss is, when did that chiyuv exist? What's the story over here? It sounds like from the story over here, Shaul HaMelech says, whoever is going to do this job for me, I'm going to pay him $1 million. Okay? Fine. David HaMelech decides to get dressed and to go do it, and he's the guy, and therefore they're married. Comes along the Tshuvas Harash, and the Tshuvas Harash brings a halacha from our Gemara, from our Psukim in Tanakh. What's the halacha? Usually you have a star. Okay? You have a star. I write, Itai, I owe you $10,000. I'm being mischayev myself $10,000. To Eidim, we sign. Very good. Everything's clear. Itai brings it to Bezdin. There's nothing to argue about. Good. Fine. What happens if I have a star like this? Whoever is going to get this piece of paper, I am now writing it out that this person who holds this piece of paper is going to now have this amount, X, $5,000, or write it out to $5,000 cash, whatever. Let's say Lamashal, let's assume for a second, there's a major debate amongst poskim. Let's assume a check is a star, okay? So you write a check for cash. We don't know who the recipient of the check is. We don't know who's going to end up with this check. I just keep an extra check in my pocket that whoever is going to get it, I use it in order not to carry around cash. I give him a check.
Can you make me hold it?
Oh, so now, does such a star work? Because it's missing the basic elements of a star. You don't know who it's going to. You don't know who you were mischayev to. You don't know who the recipient is going to be. Just because this guy holds a star that I was mischayev, that's going to work. Zok the Rosh. What?
You say Brera?
Oh, excellent. Zok the Rosh, the psak of the Rosh, a raya from Shaul HaMelech with David, that such a star works. Because at the time that Shaul was mischayev himself, Shaul had no idea who David HaMelech was. Shaul HaMelech never even heard of David HaMelech, right, as the story tells us. And Shaul HaMelech says, I'm mischayev to all this whole osher to David HaMelech. Zok the Rosh, you see that this is now a raya, that such a star, a check written out to cash, can now work as a star, and that can now work. So Mark is asking, what do you mean? It's Brera. It's a problem of Brera. Excellent question. Because at the time that you created this chayvis, you didn't know who you were going to now be mischayev to. And the halacha is, Brera is a problem, at least by the Araisas, by biblical principles, if you don't know which entity you're dealing with, and it's only going to be mavur later on, so then we assume, halachically, that if things aren't clear, right, halacha takes into account that things have to be clear. You need clarity. You need to know what you're dealing with, where the trumas chal, what's going on, who's the recipient. So this should be ein brera. So the Ktsois HaChoshen quotes a Marit that says the brera question is not a question. And this is a very important principle. Not all the Rishonim hold of this, but many Rishonim did. And I remember Rav Shechter used to love this Yisoid. He held this as a davar pashut. But if you look in the Ktsois that quotes this Rush, he actually thinks that some Rishonim didn't agree to this principle, but let me explain to you the principle. If the chalois, here, listen carefully, Brera is a problem if I'm doing something right now, a halachic mechanism right now, it's not mavur, it's not clear who I'm divorcing, who I'm marrying, who, whatever halachic mechanism I'm involved with, it's relevant to, and I want it to what? To be relevant and to be chal at this time, limafreya. That's a problem of ein brera. But comes along the Ma'arit, as many other Achronim and Rishonim say, if I want to do something that it's only going to be chal when it's mavur, that's not a problem of ein brera. Some Rishonim don't agree to that, but that would now get rid of our problem. Because the Ma'arit's saying, what do you mean? At the time that what? I am going to what? To be mischayev, David HaMelech is going to be there, and I'm going to be mischayev to him. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I'm saying it's Shabbat Kesef. So the check, you can write me a check. I can write it to my name, and then I can focus.
Yeah, that's why I said just for an example, I said assume like the poskim that a check's a star.
It's the same thing.
So take a star. Take a star.
No, but this star, because there's no recipient, it's up for grabs. So,
It's cash, you're saying.
Yeah, meaning in the same way, like a check that you can say, oh, even it says to my name, and then on the back I can write it to Itai's name, and I can give it to him. right? You can forward it essentially, right? That works on checks, is it not? Meaning, so going back to Shaw.
So you're asking on the rush. You're saying, why shouldn't this just be kesef?
Yeah, first guy who takes it.
Isn't the analogy?
But
First guy fulfills the edict.
but it's through a shtaris, meaning the mechanism is through a shtaris chayvus. Meaning I'm saying, I hareini mischayev b'shtar zu l'kol mi sheyigba
You're
v'yada.
not inside anybody. It's just an
You're
opportunity.
mischayev yourself.
No,
Oh, yourself,
is that like a reward? Like if I'm setting up a reward.
Right. So Eitan's saying, why don't we just say it's not a shtar? So Memela, it doesn't have to be a
No, there is a
mover.
commitment there. So the question
Right,
is,
so
the
I'm
question is it a
right.
star or is it a commitment to pay?
I'm saying what gives this power is my hischayvus.
Yeah.
So now that the kasha is that Mark's asking, who are you mischayev to? So the Rush says, you see that you can be mischayev to everyone.
Wait, is the shtar itself the chiyuv, or is the shtar just documenting that there is a chiyuv? Meaning, like, you have this shtar written up. Is the writing
Right.
of that defining the chiyuv? If that gets written up, is there still a chiyuv or no?
Let's see the lashon of the Rush.
But what do you need a star then?
No, I'm
Can you
saying,
just set a tonight?
no, is the shtar just something that says...
No, that's what I'm saying. Why do you need a star? Can you just set a
No,
tonight?
it's a legal document stating that money, what that money is owed.
But this is not.
So-
really a
But every
definition
shtar,
of
is like that.
No, so
Yeah.
it's
Every
right.
shtar is a raya that you owe.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm saying, is it more than that though? It's that this shtar itself is this shtar, it's not that you owe separately. This shtar is the money. It's
Right.
It's closer to a check.
Right.
That's the nafka, because if that's the case,
That's what Eitan's asking. Meaning, once you say it's like a check, so then just say it's like cash. So anywhere the cash ends up, then it doesn't matter. But the answer is because he's working with non-cash principles. Saying b'shtar shaloi nichtav shema melva. Ela shemishabed atzmo l'chol mi sheyoitziu v'heishiv demishtabed v'afal pi she'edim sheb'shtar shekanu mimenu lo yikiru v'lo yadu mihu u'ka'id demishtabdelach. He says it works. Why? Because of chimatzinu b'shol. V'yish asher yakeni yashrena ha'melech chol osher agadol. See, he's being mishtabed the way a regular shtar is mishtabed. It's working through the regular rules and relation of a shtar. Yet you don't have the information in the shtar until a guy actually takes it in his hands. Yeah.
Maybe by the Melech Yisrael it's different. By everybody it's a shtar, a chiyuv. But by Melech Yisrael, he writes a pasuk like that. It's like money in the bank. Maybe it's different because
So it's a guarantee.
yeah. Because if Melech Yisrael says it, then
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
I mean, that's what it tries.
Right.
Even today, by the way, when you say cash, by the way, you need to mention cash there then was a different thing. Cash today is exactly like open check. What is a cash? What is,
You're saying it's representative.
It's
gold,
IOUs,
gold.
right?
Right.
So today is not
It's all
really-
shava kesef. You're saying.
Right.
Right.
All of them is
Right.
open check.
Right.
The government is
Right.
owning to
Right.
pay.
Right.
Then
I agree.
we're talking about kesef or
Good.
something like that.
Right.
Exactly the opposite of what you said, because it's unenforceable. You can't force the king to you can't.
Who? David.
You're saying the other angle.
Yeah.
After Shaw pledges it, no one's gonna go.
You can't force it to pay.
no one can call his bluff.
What do you mean? Once David did it, how
No one can.
How can you force Shaul
to pay?
Maybe it's worse than anyone else, not better.
He gave him a nosher gadol. He gave
No,
him the
that,
malucha.
it's,
I mean, Adam saw him sign it.
yeah, but can you take him to bed?
I think so.
Done and not-
Yeah, that's what is enforceable. Yeah.
No, but didn't we just learn that king is not done below?
Oh.
Bet David is something else, but Shaul is not better.
I hear.
Shaul is.
But this was when? This was before, no?
Before him, yeah.
No, this was before the story. Beforehand, everyone was done. Right? At the time, the
Before
story
Yanai.
of Shimon ben Shetach and Yanai was later on.
Ah, no, of course.
So Malchi Yisrael and Malcha Beis David were both judged then. Before the story, that was the only time change. Yeah. Original. Okay, good.
Okay.
So ask the Marit, but wait a second. I don't understand this whole rush. How could Shaul do the talking? It sounds like Shaul is marrying off his daughter, and David HaMelech just stepped up and now assumed to be married. We don't hear anything else. Listen to the lashon of the Marit. Barisa v'Marit, herich b'Yinzeh v'hiksha b'divrei Rosh. Hechem eskad shemeirav ba'oso milveh. Okay, forget the Gemara right now. Let's assume Mekadesh Milva would work. Okay, if Mekadesh Milva would work, so now he has money now to marry Meirav with. Why? Mikomakom milay ba'inan sheyomer ha'ish shehu mekadsha ba'isay mamon. V'im lo hayanikar mi amar v'ba'inan nasan hu v'amar hu v'loy shetilakach isha li'ish. Our story only has about the marriage. Who creates the money? The person who's now going to have this chov, and I'm going to give him the daughter for that chov, right? So who was arranging this marriage? Shaul HaMelech. Ask the Marit, that's a problem. You're representative of the daughter. If you go under a chuppah, and the woman says to the man, unfortunately, this is not always known, but this is part of the problem with reform marriages, is that if she's active in the Maisa Kiddushin, that's a problem of ki yikach isha, right? V'loi ki silokach isha liish. She can't be active in the marriage. So also Shaul HaMelech, he can't create this chiyuv.
Do we know for sure David didn't say anything?
So the Ktsois HaChoshen retorts back to the Marit, and he answers, "What do you mean? I'm sorry. So the Marit says, so what's the answer? The Marit says, must be the whole rush is wrong. And I don't think that such a star works, says the Marit. You understand? This is not only a story about Tanakh, this is now affecting whether or not this check made out to cash, or whatever you're going to call it, is now going to work without knowing the person. Says the Marit, you misunderstood the whole story in Tanakh. Why did I misunderstand the whole story in Tanakh? When David HaMelech said, I'm your guy, I'm going to do it, I'll kill Goliath. So then what happened? He said, and by the way, I'm going to marry your daughter with that situation when he knew. And at that time, the Marit says what? Everybody knew who the guy was. It was clear who we were dealing with. There's no problems of Breira. There's no problems of not knowing who's going to end up with the money, who the chov is. There was a conversation, says the Ktsois HaChoshen, he changes the story in Tanakh. Once they were putting on the clothing and getting him armored and suited up before he went out to Goliath, they made that arrangement, and he was Omer, the Dibur of Kiddush. So comes along the Ktsois HaChoshen, and he defends the Tshuvas Harash. The Ktsois thinks, I don't think this Marit is right. I want to defend this Tshuvas Harash, that this type of shtar really does work. So he says what? He says it can't be like the Maharit. Why can't it be like the Maharit? Because if that's the case, so what's the situation over here? If it's not going from that original Hischayvus and Milveh that we were talking about, that Shaul announced to everyone, and there was a chov that was set in, and that was the Mekadesh Milveh, says the Ktsois HaChoshen, then you can't understand our Gemara. Why? Because all you're suggesting right now, when Shaul HaMelech knew who was going to do the job, so all that is that's hiring a person to do work. That's what's called schiras poilin. I ask you to do a job in my house, or I ask you to kill Goliath for me. So right now, what am I doing? Instead of now just being meschayev money to a person, as a chov, as a milveh, says the Ktsois HaChoshen, whoa, this is schiras. I am now about to kill this person on your behalf. So now, is schiras considered a milveh, or is schiras not considered a milveh? So it says the Ktsois HaChoshen, we have a Gemara that said the money over here was considered a milveh. The way you're suggesting, according to you, the Ma'arit, it just turned into a schiras. Ask the Ktsois HaChoshen, is schiras a milveh or not a milveh? So this is actually a fascinating machlokes in the Gemara and Kedushin. What is the halacha when you have someone who works for you? Do you pay him by the brick, or do you pay him all in a lump sum at the end? This is what's called in halacha, the Masechus Kedushin, the Gemara calls it yeshna l'schiras mitchila v'ad soif, or ein l'schiras ella lebesoif. What's the nafkamina? If you hold yeshna l'schiras mitchila v'ad soif, so then what? So then there's an ongoing chov going on. If you hold eina ella lebesoif, so then there's no chov. Right now, there's money over here. I'm right here at the end, and I'm mekadesh the woman with this with this schiras that I'm going to do. That's not a chov. That wasn't a prior debt that was owed to me throughout the process. So comes along the Ktsois HaChoshen, he says it can't be that the story over here between Shaul and David was that they actually knew who was going to do the job, and then he just asked him and hired him to do the job, because then it's not going to anywhere be Mekadosh Milva only according to the Manda Amar who holds Yesh l'Schiris Mitchila Vad Sof. And then the Ketos HaChoshen argues even further, and even according to the Manda Amar that holds what? Yeshna l'Schiris Mitchila Vad Sof, he agrees that if the last piece that I do, and I'm Mekadosh my woman, my wife, right before I do the last piece of work, and I say, be Mekadosh with me with this last piece of work that I'm going to do in your house, and that last brick or that last piece is for sure worth a pruta, so that's not Mekadosh from Milveh. That's not an old chov. Now I'm being Mekadesher with the shavius of this last piece, this libasof. That's not anymore Mekadosh Milveh. Says the Ktsois. So even if you want to argue that it's going according to Manda Omer, Yesh l'Schiris Mitchila Vad Sof, and that's why it was a case of Mekadosh Milveh. Says the Ktsos, and the last piece when he killed Goliath, that wasn't worth $1 million. Says the Ktsos HaChoshen, everyone would agree that the Makah B'Patish, which was the story, right? What was the actual story? How he killed him. That last piece, Avada, that was going to be worth a pruta. So therefore, says the Ktsos HaChoshen, it must be that the Rush was right, and the story was originally that that he was going to do it, and afterwards, David HaMelech, like you said before, Mark, the Ktsos HaChoshen says, David HaMelech, the chi of the milva was then, and David HaMelech said to her at that point in time, after he finished Goliath, by the way, your father owes me $1 million from a chov that he owes me from before I even get involved, before he even knew I existed. Please be Mekadosh with me with that chov, and then he added on the, whatever, the chov, and then for the other one he added on the pruta. Good. So this whole machlokes is all about who said what. At what point in time? And then the Nesivis comes and he argues with the Ktsos and he says, how could you say that David HaMelech did it afterwards? Shaul HaMelech, he knew Shaul HaMelech was not in agreement anymore. Because Shaul HaMelech gave her up to Adriel. So how could he now say, oh, Harayat Mikudeshes Li, in order to answer the Marit's question that it's Amrahi? It can't be Amrahi. If you're saying you said it at the end, but at that point in time you knew it was against Shaul's will. So the Ktsos HaChoshen responds back to the Nesivas. He says, no, there must have been like 2 months that Shaul didn't know right away. He didn't make up his mind right away, and it wasn't right away against his will. And in that time frame, that break, that Shaul didn't decide to give her to Adriel. So in that point in time, David HaMelech said, Harei Mikudeshes Li, with the chov that your father gave me. But it's all emanating from just, we have missing facts. And these missing facts of who said what, at what point in time, and when was Shaul actually mischayev, is ultimately going to have tremendous nafkaminas about writing a check out to cash, about a shtaris chayvus, that you don't know who's going to be the person who's going to be the recipient at that point in time. Yeah, Mark.
Assuming David says it, so then when it's time for Michal, so if he holds Milva and Pruta Daita on Milva, oh no, sorry, that was Shaul.
Yeah, so again, originally, that's
Yeah,
Chazar.
yeah.
The first one was a Milva. So that was a Mekadosh Milva and a Mekudeshes. So then David HaMelech says that, but I can marry Meirav, because that was Kedusha Tos. So Mela, since Milva Pruta, so then I'm actually married. So here's my kasha. This is what I thought Mark was going to ask. I think this was what he was thinking to ask. So he holds that he's married to Meirav, right? So ask me a kasha, guys. David holds Milva Pruta Daita Milva. Daita Pruta. And he's married to Meirav, right? What's the problem? There's a major problem here, everybody say. No, I'm sorry. I messed up the names. I'm sorry.
First was Melech, right?
Meirav's not married. Meirav is Kedusha Tos. Mekadosh Milva straight up. But Michal's good marriage, David HaMelech holds. Why? Because Mekadosh Milva, Upruta, Daita Pruta. Api David. And David's right. We pass on like David.
Okay.
So now what?
How can Shaul give her away?
Well, Shaul holds she's not married.
Shaul argues.
So now what? She's a surala, bala, bala.
So now you have a kasha on who?
David.
On David.
Yes. Yeah.
How can David marry Michal after she sleeps with Palti ben Laish?
She did it.
She doesn't.
Oh, good. So the Rashba and Shuvas asked this kasha. How could David say? So the second answer is exactly what Eitan and Itai say. He did it, she didn't. That's what the Gemara goes on to say. We're going to see in a second. The Gemara says that he stuck a cherev and he wouldn't be with her. Fine. But Eitan, how did David HaMelech know that?
I thought he was going around crying, and he said, wasn't that what the Gemara says?
But he should be choishish. The pashtus would be that they should be together. So how should David? So you'll tell me, as some to answer, that when David HaMelech had Ruach HaKodesh, so David HaMelech knew. So that's not pasha. Whether or not you can paskin halacha based on Ruach HaKodesh is a big shaila in the paiskin. There is a raya from a pasuk. The pasuk is in Lech Lecha. That I forget who says this pshat. Could be the Ksava Kabbalah, but I believe that the pshat is that when Avimel when it was either Paro or Avimelech.
Paro was in Lech Lecha.
Paro is in Lech Lecha. So Paro says, so Zakrish Baruch who tells Paro, give Sarah back to Kinavihu.
No,
So what's
that's Tavi Melech.
That's Tavi Melech. So that's the pasuk. So what does the pasuk mean Kinavihu? What's that coming to tell us? So some of them Mefarshim tell us Vayeri, right? And some of them Mefarshim tell us Kinavihu. And don't be choishish that she's going to be an Eish Asura Baila Kinavihu because he knows that you never actually touched her, and that's a raya that you can paskin la'alocha based on nevuah. So if that would be the case, so then that would be the answer to David HaMelech. But many of the poskim hold that Ruach HaKodesh is a nice thing, but you're not allowed to paskin la'alocha. Why? Because lo b'shamayim he. Halacha is b'dei Adam, and halacha is not b'shamayim. So listen to what the Rashba answers. The Rashba answers are fascinating answers, and it's brought down in Siman Yud Zayin. What's Siman Yud Zayin in Even Ezer? Aguna. Siman Yud Zayin in Even Ezer is all the shilas of Aguna. It's a huge siman.
Is it Baratzon if she?
Oh. So what Mark is pointing out, excellent. What Mark is pointing out is that David HaMelech is not a kohen. So there's a distinction between an Eishes Ish Shenivala that was boiled with another man, Ba'oinis, that she was raped against her will, and Baratzon. Good.
The physical act, but wasn't there a reason? Didn't Shaul give her away?
Yeah, but if she's a married woman, so it's a joke.
Yeah.
If you do a Maisa Kiddushin to an Eishes Ish, David HaMelech did it first, right? So Shaul holds what David did was garnish. But so happens to be there's a minchas chinuch that paskins that you're not allowed to do even a Maisa Kiddushin, but halachically it has no ramifications. Fine. So now, so if it's an Eishes Kain, so there's nothing to do with there's nothing to do with it. But if it's an Eishes Yisrael, so if it was against her will, so she's still muteris al baila. Comes along the last seif in Even Ezer Siman Yud Zayin. Listen to this Ramah. Isha sheniskadsha, vitasa v'savra sheloi niskadsha. She made a mistake. She thought she wasn't married. V'nosas la'acher, and she married someone else because teitzi mizeh v'chol hadrachim anal. Aval ansua. Oh, so what does that mean? Teitzi mizeh v'chol hadrachim anal. So if you look in the 10th parak of Yevamos, the 10th parak of Yevamos discusses all the situations of in Aguna, and the Gemara has the leniency that even in Eid Echad could be made, Meis Bailach, B'Molchama, or whatever, and whatever the situation is, and then she's allowed to get married, fine. What happens, the Gemara deals with the unfortunate situation, what happens if the Eid Echad's wrong? And then the Gemara talks about that Bab Baila, within the Bezdin, he walks in. Right, exactly, right. Right, so the Gemara says that there's a problem. The Gemara says that if the Gemara gets into a discussion, Eid Echad, two Eidim, even if two Eidim, if in certain situations, she is Teitzah Mizeh V'Avlad Mamzer. That's the last one. Amru lo meis balech v'nosas achach amru lo kayim haya umeis Vlad Shahola Kodin Shemeis Mamzer Minater. Even though she's really she's a good it's not lamafrei, it's just it's a gloy milsa that she never had a heter. And the guy was wrong. She was given the heter, right. But since the Gemara says Isha Daiku Minsaba, she really has to go check her situation herself. And since she didn't check it out enough, so therefore the Gemara says that's actually going to be a problem. Two Eidim is a little bit different. Two Eidim might be only a Mamzer B'Durabanan because she had a starker heter. But now we're dealing with another case, right? She, l'chur in our case, right? She was told the wrong thing. The Rav told her, by the way, you're mutter, right? Not Eid Echad, not Shtei Eidim. What happens if a Rav told her, Shaul HaMelech told her, by the way, you can marry Palti ben Laish. I hold that it's mutter. So listen, that is not discussed in the Gemara. So says the Ramah, quoting from our Rashba, Aval ansuali nase. He told her, he forced her to marry her. Oh, shahorula bezdin betos, or the bezdin makes a mistake. V'nosas al piem ke'anuso muteres labayla rishayna. That's better than Eirechad, it's better than Shnei Eidim. If a Bezdin, a Rav, Shoa Melech, who was the Talmud Chacham of the door, told her it is absolutely mutter, then she is mutter. Zok the Rashba, that's why David HaMelech was allowed to stay married to Meirav, because of this Rashba, because the Taz doesn't like it. The Taz says, what do you mean Bezdin was married? What happened to the whole Pasuk and Chumash of Bezdin tells you to do Avodah Zarah? There's karbanos for this. Paralam Davar Shel Tzibor. What happened to all? The Taz says this whole psak is wrong. This mamish is a nafkamina la'alacha. How to understand our story, why David HaMelech was actually allowed to stay married. Yeah.
It's mashma, not even a nusa, even if it's baratzon. Mashma.
She wants it.
With the Kohen,
Yeah.
the answer would be no by a Kohen.
No, because that he says she's an anus, right? 100%. For a kohen it would be aser, but it has a din of anus, which would be still mutter to an Ish Yisrael.
Shot then, once Palti officially withdrew, she would really need a get, even though they were never consummating the marriage. Meaning, because the basic Shalom gave psak, and that's the psak, and then he never acted on it.
No, well, again, you're passing like David HaMelech. You're passing like David HaMelech.
Maybe I misunderstood that.
No. We hold that So we hold that the kiddushin that she did to Palti ben Laish was a joke, because we hold she's an Eshes Ish.
Okay, so
We have a separate question. If she's mizana without kiddushin, if she sleeps with another man,
David,
meaning Palti ben Laish,
so then
in theory that she slept with him, so that she should be also David without kiddushin. So on that, Zok the Rashba, no, she was paskin betos from a bezdin that she can marry another guy. That doesn't shaf an Eshes Ish is in.
When she need a get.
No, from who?
No,
From Palti?
Yeah.
No, she didn't. She's not married to him.
It was just
No.
nisbatos.
No.
It's nisbaheter.
from the Rabbanan, if there is a case like that,
Oh, that's Shnei Eidim.
yeah.
Yeah, midrabanan. Yes,
Yeah,
that's the Gemara in Yevamos, right?
yes,
But
yes.
here, no, she was an Eshes Ish. She was for sure not. She doesn't need a get. Yeah.
She's a nusa.
Anusa, she's like a woman that got raped and that's married to her husband.
No, I'm saying the explanation again, someone will see and say, oh, what's going on over there? No, what's she
Oh, you're saying Marasayan.
Yeah, my time.
Right.
At least something that
Right,
shows that.
right, right.
Not all the people know.
Yeah, it
the
looks
story.
funny. It looks funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, here. Okay. Lamaisa, so I just find this to be incredible. Number one, you have a whole machlokes that's going to affect cash, checks, is just who said it, when did they say it, what was the story, when was the Amira said, how do you have an Amira from David HaMelech, was it a choiv, was it not a choiv, is it schiris, is it not schiris, that's one issue. Now we have an issue of how do you allow David to still stay married to her, hello, according to David, it was an Eshes Ish Zinsa, so that we have the Rashba that answers that it's not an Eshes Ish, Zinsa. Okay. There's one other main problem that we have 2 minutes to talk about that I'm not really going to get into. Okay? We don't have 2 minutes. What was the pruta?
The Arlos.
The Arlos. So we gave a little bit of machshava what the Arlos represent, what it's coming from. But I have a serious problem with this pruta. This is part of a mace. So a mace is aser ba'ana. So we know that any shava kesef that's aser ba'ana, the Mishnah says in Kedushin, the second parak, that it's aser ba'ana.
Were they necessarily dead?
Yeah.
Oh. So Zok the Mishnah Lamelech in Hilchas Elvel, and this is the main maramokum on this topic for organ transplants, will be from this Mishnah Lamelech. So the Mishnah Lamelech discusses 2 questions. So the Itai already brought up, were they dead? So the Mishnah Lamelech brings Machlokes, the Targum Yonason, and the Pasuk in Shmuel. What does Vayach mean? So the Targum Yonason says Vayach is Vakotel, that in Mamish means he killed. So Im Kain, Sefrek the Mishnah Lamelech, so according to him, Zenetaka means, and then Memela it's Aser Ba'ana. But maybe he suggests, maybe according to some poskim, you can answer Mefarshim that they were alive, and he somehow got the Arlas of the Plishtim. I don't know. I kind of would like the first shot.
Maybe that killed
yeah,
them.
exactly right. Maybe that killed him. Maybe that's the shot. So that's the first case. But let's assume that would be one. So Itai said the first answer is maybe like the Mefarshei Tanakh that understand Vayach means Vayach Mechayim, and that they weren't actually dead. But what happens if you hold like the Pashtus that this is after the battle, and these guys were dead, and he just says, I want some of the spoils from the battle, and I want to hang this up on my wall. I want some Meya Orlus. So please get it for me from the dead bodies. Right, exactly, yeah.
Does it
So,
apply even into Goyim?
so that's what the Mishnah Melech is talking about. The din of a mace that's Aser Ba'ana. Does that apply to only Jews? Because the mucker is Gemara later on, which we have to Mirza Hashem probably in 2 weeks from now when we get to the 6th parak. So that Gemara learns from Miriam, Miriam, that Miriam was Aser Ba'ana. So all Mesim are Aser Ba'ana. So maybe that's only a mucker for Jews. How do you know that Mesei Akum are Aser Ba'ana? Lemaisa the Shulchan Aruch quotes a Tshuvas Harashba that Paskins la'alacha that Mesei Akum is Aser Ba'ana, which is why the whole sugya of organ transplant starts. Because if Mesei Akum were Mutter Ba'ana, so rove of these Mesim are Akum, we can get their parts, and it's okay. So you have their heter. So let's say you don't have a pikuach nefesh. Let's say you have a situation where you have a retina, a cornea transplant, right? That was the title of the shir, right? Cornea transplant. So how do you know that that's going to be? So some poskim say, what do you mean? That's pikuach nefesh. He's not going to be able to see. What happens if he could see with one eye? So it's not pikuach nefesh. So some poskim suggest that skin is not necessarily considered like an organ, and it's disconnected to the body, and that's not part of the mace that necessarily is Aser Ba'ana. But even if you don't want to go that far, one could argue Arla, which is mamish, something that's a cover that's omed to be taken off, perhaps you can say that that's why that would be Mutter Ba'ana, and specifically by Arla. Lemaisa, the Mishnah Melech suggests, perhaps this machlokes, whether Mesei Akum is Aser Ba'ana, is a machlokes David HaMelech and Shaul. Lemaisa, that was what? Whether or not this, or maybe Shaul HaMelech had in his mind, like you were saying, he played jokes. Maybe Shaul HaMelech said, Mesei Akum is Aser Ba'ana, so it's anyways not going to be worth anything. And David HaMelech held no, like the Rishonim, that either Mesei Akum are Mutter Ba'ana, or that it's Arla, which is the